Hey everyone, welcome to Buzzing About Romance. I am Becky, and joining me for this episode is Jenni. Hi, Jenni.
Hey, Becky.
And we have a special guest. And so our special guest this evening is Bill Keenan. Welcome to the podcast, Bill.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here, Becky.
Yeah, so I recruited Bill.
That's how it always goes.
That's always the start of this conversation. He was nice to me. I felt like he had something to say. And guess what? Now you get to be on the podcast.
I love how that works.
I don't make the rules. It's just the way it is. Well, actually, technically.
Okay, I'm pretty sure you make all the rules then do not follow them.
I never follow the rules. Well, they're just, as Leah says, suggestions. But actually, Bill, part of the reason that we invited you is, one, you have a debut novel coming out this summer, which is a hockey romance.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, so it's called The Swan and the Sentinel, as you said, comes out in June. And I've written a couple memoirs that came out. I wrote a memoir called Odd Man Rush that was about my time as a hockey player, which is how I got into the kind of genre to begin with. And then I wrote another memoir called Discussion Materials about, I would say those were the misadventures of my time in the world of finance. And so it was sort of this circuitous path to hockey romance, which is, as we all know, why we're here today, and
yeah,
kind of a crazy phenomenon that's captured the collective imagination of most people.
Yeah, it's hockey romance. I found it, I think, 2015, 14. I was a little slow going into contemporary. So my journey started in historical, and I didn't really want to leave that bubble. But then slowly, then I found them. But Jenni, you really only read contemporary, right?
Right, because I started reading a lot when my kid was in the hospital. And yeah, I jumped in right at contemporary.
So, I mean, everyone, it's so exciting. So tonight we're talking about Heated Rivalry. We're going to discuss the show. We're going to discuss the movies. But one of the things that is so interesting is because this is just new and out there right now, so many people think the genre is brand new, but it's this huge, rich genre, hockey romance. And for you, Bill, when did you first kind of discover that hockey romance was, one, a thing, and two, decide to write it?
I was pretty late to the game. I mean,
it's okay.
I'll never forget it because it was actually in an airport, couldn't have been more than a year and a half ago. And I saw Icebreaker, I think, like a Hudson News or one of those places. And when you're in an airport, you know that whoever's getting placement those things are moving copies, right? Like they don't just put any old book up there. So I saw like this hockey player and I'm thinking I have to go investigate like this. I've never seen hockey on like the, displayed as a book that people are actually reading. And so sure enough, I pick it up and I sort of flip through it. I didn't get it, but
Smart
later
choice.
that week I was at a work event and I previously worked at a publishing company, and we had kind of a cocktail event, and there was a woman that was actually worked at that publishing house at Gallery, and I think it was Gallery. So, but they had done some hockey romances themselves, and she brought it up, and I felt like, okay, this is two instances of seeing and hearing about this. Like I've got to figure it out, and I got to start reading it. And so it was that was sort of the catalyst for me to get into it. And then pretty much once I started reading, I was like, all right, I get this. I understand why this is like, there's a voracious readership around it. And so I kind of felt like like a lot of things, I'd like to give it a whack myself. And so I got working on that novel shortly thereafter.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's funny. Things like, well, first of all, book talk in general, what has pushed genre romance to the forefront, and then Icebreaker being the hockey romance that went off like gangbusters. We also had the Why Choose from Emily Rath that went a little bonkers. And it's so interesting because there's so many of us here in the background going, but wait, There's more.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, please
Different.
tell me that's not the one you read.
No, Bill's a big Sawyer Bennett fan. Oh, and there's Lindsey. Hi, Lindsey.
Hi, sorry about that.
It's okay. Bill's a Sawyer Bennett fan, and actually, she helped connect me to Bill to help him as he's getting ready to debut his novel this summer. So we're doing some projects and work together. Actually, we're just telling him all the things to do, and he's a really great client and student because he does what we tell him to do, which we all love, right? Okay, Lindsey, are you ready? Are you ready to talk about this?
Yes, I'm very ready.
You have big thoughts? We'll see.
Not really.
Not really? Okay.
Fun? No, I find that hard to believe.
I have thoughts. You're never going to guess what I have thoughts about.
I mean, it's valid.
It's a valid
I was
thought.
surprised, but yes.
So tonight we're diving into the very buzz-worthy adaptation success of Heated Rivalry, why this story is hitting so hard right now, what it gets right about romance and sports, and why it feels like a real turning point for the romance adaptation. Quick heads up, this is not a spoiler-free conversation. We'll be talking characters, tension, why the rivals to lover romance has lived rent-free in so many people's brains, not just this adaptation, but also the books, and why it's finally getting its mainstream moment. So if you have not completed the television series and at least read the first 2 books, you might want to come back to this after you do those things. Or maybe not. Just maybe stick around. So I do have, we do have questions and conversations, but if you are following along in the chat, feel free to ask questions, share your opinions. We will definitely be sharing them out. So my first statement about this is, my first question was, why this book? Why now? And I very much am curious of all your thoughts from everybody here. I do not think a USA-based production company could have done this show and done it as well as it has done. This had to come out of somebody that was not a U.S. production company.
Yeah, so Jacob talks about that because, oh my God. Okay, so I watched it. Okay, we don't need to talk about how many times I've watched it. But that's between me and HBO.
Okay. Did you get your money's worth? But also not, okay, I'm just going to say it. There's a lot of sexy times. This is kind of porny a little bit.
Yeah, the first 2 episodes, yeah. Well, three's a little less.
That's not
Kip forever.
that's not-
Kip and Scott forever.
Mhm. That's not like just continuous with like how HBO shows tend to be, because like typically the first season in them tend to be like very, very spicy.
But this is a crave show, and that is something that this is kind of what we're talking about right now. I don't think that there is a U.S. production house that could have done this.
Yeah, so I was gonna say I've done my research. I have like 60 tabs bookmarked.
Insane.
And maybe like 20 YouTube videos. So Jacob has said that he did try to take it to Hollywood, and they wanted like Rose in the like first episode. They wanted like the female voice like right away, or they wanted to change certain things, and he was just like, no, I'll just go back to Canada.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Bill? I don't know. How much are you a huge consumer of media, like television, TV? I'm really not.
I am.
So
No, I am. I agree with you. I think anything, honestly, though, that is forward thinking, kind of pushing boundaries, is going to have to come from a smaller market. It's going to have to come from somebody where there's more leeway and you can explore and innovate. And I think that's one of the challenges of being the US, is that there's certain norms and things that politically, I'm sure within a lot of these big companies that they would have trouble getting through. So on the flip side, kudos to HBO for saying, hey, let's license this because you guys have done something that I think is going to reach an audience here. And obviously they were right.
Yeah. And that's something we've talked about in past episodes too, is a lot of, we saw it with a lot of authors and a lot of influencers. They were very upset that there wasn't this huge pre-marketing push. Like, you know, if we think about Bridgerton, and I will say this right now, Heated Rivalry is what Bridgerton wanted to be for historical, that Heated Rivalry is being for male hockey romances. Like, Shonda Rhimes is a queen. She does amazing stuff. Bridgerton did not do for romance what Heated Rivalry is doing. I think it actually had the opposite effect. And so this is an adaptation that it has been in the making for a long time, but it wasn't publisher driven. And a lot of people don't realize that. So the publishing label that Rachel Reed was on is Carina Press Adores, which is owned by HarperCollins. It's part of the Harlequin line under HarperCollins. And she retained her film and TV rights, which you don't always get to do in a trad pubbed contract. And I don't know what your contract looks like, Bill, with your publisher, but typically it's world rights. Like when you sell a book to a big house publisher, they buy worldwide rights, meaning all the translations, film, audio, all of that is owned by the publishing house. Well, for Rachel Reed, she kept her film and TV, which is why there wasn't the ugly, as now on Crave TV covers, on the books. Like, and I hope we never get those. I mean,
they might be coming.
They're very sexy men, but I really love those covers. The original covers.
Yeah, the covers are great.
But I like an illustrated.
At least she matched the one that's coming out with those.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, Leah's losing it about Bridgerton in the chat, so we're just gonna let Leah sit down.
Yeah, we're just.
So Heated Rivalry didn't have the big publisher marketing push. It was also only supposed to be in Canada, and it was less than 14-day turnaround from Crave selling the rights to HBO for HBO to stream it with a simultaneous release. Like, it was less than 21 days.
10 days.
It was 10 days? Yeah. So that's why there wasn't... Because people will ask, like, why weren't the books readily available? Because, people weren't necessarily communicating well amongst themselves.
Didn't it also get like wildfire hot very, very quickly? Because it just kind of came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like nobody really heard about it, and then it got ridiculously popular, and all of a sudden it was available on HBO, and then it just, spiraled.
So why do we think that there was this sudden breakout for Heated Rivalry? What do you think is so engaging?
I think a lot of it had to do with it being weekly. So there was time for everyone to talk, and there were the readers and there were the watchers, and these people knew what was going to happen. These people didn't. And so seeing them communicate back and forth. And
yeah,
so there was more buildup as to where if they had just all dropped at once and we could have binged them, talked about it a little, I think it would have been more of a flash.
Yeah. Now, I know Jenni had read the books before you saw the show, because you've been reading Rachel Reed for a minute. Yep. Bill, had you read Rachel before you watched the show? Because I know you've now read Game Changer.
I watched the first episode, then I read it, and then I watched the rest of it.
And then you watched. What about you?
I'm not sure if that's the right way to do it, but...
No, I think
there's any wrong way.
I don't think there's a wrong way. It's one of the things I find fascinating is, these are books that we've been reading since 2015, 2016. And now all of a sudden, people that wasn't necessarily on their radar are picking them up. What about you, Lindsey? Did you read the books first or the show first?
No, I only read the books because we planned this episode.
Did you read them all or just
No, I
one?
just read Heated Rivalry.
Okay.
I have I had got the first one, the sixth one, and Heated Rivalry just to kind of like match up with the show and then to like wrap up Shane and Ilya's storyline, but I haven't read them all. Um, and then as far as the show goes, like I watched it after everything had come out, so I'm also not very locked in on social media. Like I don't know what all's going on. I am like I scroll on social media for a specific purpose and then like I don't know what's popular. I need the group chat for that. But I am a big fan of male romance.
Yeah.
I usually read whatever Heather Rex
Well, a lot of us do. A lot of
or
us.
like Max Walker. Like I'm a huge Max Walker fan, so like
Yeah.
whatever his books are like whenever he's releasing books, I read them pretty much when they come out.
So, culturally, right now, obviously, world's on fire. That's what we'll say about it. Do you find it interesting that this male romance that is very, you know, it is very queer love forward is getting all of this engagement and people talking about it when right now, societally, many of us were concerned this summer that, they weren't going to, that the Supreme Court was going to overturn gay marriage. Like, many of us are still very concerned about our queer kids and stuff like that. And so, culturally, what is it about this that seems to be defying that? Any thoughts, Jenni? I know you have thoughts.
You have thoughts. It's just like articulating them well. I think it goes back to like it being a Canadian production. Like they are completely different about sexual orientation there. And I don't since I kind of seen it like kind of bubble up and then like explode. I do think there were a lot of like queer community and allyship like driven because it's a lot of like getting your partner or your spouse or your straight friends to watch it, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think the community aspect of it and like wanting to share those feelings is
Yeah.
kind of why.
Yeah, I mean, I will say one of the things that I also, as I was kind of thinking about how it stays with you, is if we take the fact that it's this, the queer love story and put that aside, it's also like this wouldn't have worked if it wasn't just a good show. Like if it wasn't too charismatic with some really good supporting actors and actresses, like really well done. The stuff that I think about honestly is like it captures like translating when I see, when we read hockey romances, what you see in your head. Like this to me was such a great from the cinematography, the lighting, the music, like the whole thing, it captured that sort of fantasy that you feel that you're looking for when you're reading, and it did a great job of putting that on the screen. So I think a lot of this, not to diminish any of what it's bringing to the forefront, but it also stands on its feet because it's just like it's a compelling, engaging show.
It is. And I do think that one of the things that I found interesting as I was watching it, this show is very much within what I will call the gay gaze, right? Like the book is written, Rachel Reed has been out about herself being bisexual. And so when you read the book, you very much see that bi gaze, right? Like there's a little softerness to the reading versus the visual on screen. There's a little more, sharper angles, lighting is a little different. And I feel like this show was the perfect like gay gaze, for lack of a better term to use. Do you know what I mean? Like we often talk about how that's viewed within the female gaze. This show it's the way that it is filmed and produced and the story is told is very much in the gay gaze.
Mm-hmm.
And, you see that now.
I also think like my thoughts were really in line with what Bill was saying about the romance aspect of it, because like why I think it is so good. Like, so I was started the year sick, so I watched this when I was sick. I don't really watch a lot of TV. I hardly ever have streaming services. So like I watched this, and then like interestingly I watched Bridgerton. I attempted. I didn't make it through the first episode. I was so bored. The pacing is off. So like where I think Heated Rivalry does a really good job is like romance has a formula to it that works. And like there is something that like there's the whole, and you wrote about this in your Substack a while back, Becky, like the specific arcs that you have to meet in your story for it to work. This hits every single one of those. And then the show paces so perfectly in alignment with what most people need in their romance. It immediately you're in the meat, like you're getting the exposition and the backstory of like how they came together, and then you're getting like the tension, and then they have the conflict, and then um like just the pacing of it, like it's six episodes. It's very easy to consume for anybody, like for like there's no real commitment for 6 hours of TV. So it's accessible. But then as far as like the romance elements, like they are airtight, like there's no fluff, there's nothing extraneous. Like everything that happens in the book and then everything that happens in the show serves the story. And we don't get that in romance very often. Like there's no other romance content available where I've left the experience and I'm like, perfect, no notes, change nothing. Like,
Yeah. It's rare. It's rare, particularly
yeah.
in film TV adaptations. There was a TikTok going around a while ago that was, what is the worst movie or TV, book to TV movie adaptations? And I have my thoughts. There are some really bad ones out there. And this one, and I know that was a fear originally for a lot of Game Changer fans and Rachel Reed fans, that are they going to do this okay? Because there's a lot in these books, and the yearning, that is the romance beats that Rachel really hits really well, that push and pull. And to see that on the screen, like I was like, yes. And you're right, Lindsey, it was a little bit of no notes.
Well, I actually have a lot of notes. And
okay, Lindsey's
like,
pulling out
really
the notebook.
Good point about the tension on the screen. I wrote about that.
Oh.
So my notes about the book was that I think the third person storytelling in the book actually reduced some of the tension. Like it's a very spicy book. There's a lot of sex in the book.
These people are horny.
The connection,
I mean, they're
is
young,
so much more
male athletes
from episode 1 in the show, because it's not told in third person, and you're seeing all that tension like acted out between them. And I think that just translated so well to film. And I think like for me, like one of my big complaints about third person is that like you have to do it really well. And they like the book, it changes from their perspective so many times in chapter. Like you're not just getting like you're constantly getting both of their perspectives in situations. And then there's other situations where like you're getting like Shane's observations on something big happening for Ilya. So it like pulls you out of the feels of that. So like the acting really enhanced a lot of those particular scenes for me.
Yeah.
Right,
because Rachel Reed does tell with head hopping. She not in her newer stuff. Her new stuff is third person close. But in her original stuff, there was third person multi POV head hopping, which many romance readers are currently, it's out of trend.
But you get like their facial expressions. You get like there's just so much in the body language and the acting that adds so much emotional depth that I just felt like wasn't really there until like way further into the story.
Yeah.
But it's like they're right from the open in the show.
A scene that like I thought of right away when you said that was Ilya's Russian monologue. Because in the book, we just get that he like Shane heard Ilya going blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
and doesn't understand any of it. But in the show, we get all the translation. So it kind of, for no pun intended, changes the game. Like
It does.
It does.
I still think that like I'm not sure if this would have worked, the show or the series would have worked if Ilya was not Russian, because to your point, Lindsey, so much of like there's so much in the micro expressions and the body language that it's one thing, and actually having played and lived in Europe and played hockey with Russians and Latvians and Eastern Europeans, it's interesting because like you'd think it'd be harder to communicate with them, but yes, the standard stuff can be challenging and you have to be really simple, but what you also get much more sort of dialed into the nuances in their facial expressions, and that was done well and becomes like a big part of how they navigate their relationship, because it's not two people that are at all similar. You've got one who is, and seeing that evolve, seeing the challenges with how they communicate, because it's a very complex thing to have a intimate relationship with someone that you can't, you don't speak the same language.
Right. Okay, so just really quick, on the YouTube, we have some comments I'm going to share here real quick. We have Claudia says the original fans were very excited about what and wanted everyone to read it. They did what readers used to do in the early aughts, and that is to push your friends to read them and watch them. And she's right. And it's kind of what you touched on, Jenni. There was this snowball effect, and I think it helped that it was a weekly streaming. I also think it helped at the time of year that it dropped.
Oh, yeah.
Because,
100%.
You're mainstream TV, nobody else was really dropping anything. Lots of people were waiting for the Stranger Things Christmas drop. But then what you really got was, there wasn't, you were forced to sit down because it was Sunday nights, right? Did it come out Sunday nights? Fridays. You were forced
at midnight.
To sit. Who was up Thursday night at 11:59 waiting for Heated?
I didn't care if I had to go to work. Like,
sister. So like Claudia said, you're invested and you want someone to talk about it with. And that is so true as you're watching this. And this is part of what we talk about because of our community of romance readers. We're very lucky that we have each other, because oftentimes we'll say we don't know anyone in our real life that reads romance. And so that's been one of the best things out of our community, is that we get to talk about these things, and the chats about Heated Rivalry that are happening right now are amazing.
I definitely yelled at a coworker. Like, I'm like, did you go to the cottage?
You're insane. Okay. Also, Heather wants me to ask Bill, Scott's Breezers, hockey pants, drove her crazy. Do you have any notes on his pants?
Funnily enough, I don't remember Breezers. I haven't heard that in a long time. That's very Canadian. That's well executed. But it's funny because when we talk about like the authenticity, at first I was so like sensitive. I see ear guards and the way that the guys are like holding the sticks, and the way at one point I think Hayden sort of like head bumps. They're looking up and they see somebody in the stands. I forget what it was, but Hayden head bumps Shane. And it's like that like there's stuff that would never in a million years. I don't know what sport that might be, football or something. But my point is there's so many little things that I was like, this is cringeworthy. But then I kind of got to the point where like them embracing it was great, because again, like the goal here is not to be like perfectly authentic to hockey. It was embrace the fantasy of it. And I think, when they did the wide shots, the hockey was actually very good when it was all the stunt doubles, but it was really, really dreadful because these guys couldn't skate. You could tell when they were shooting, and
they know it
the
too.
yeah, but it's like that sort of, that kind of adds charm to it. So I will look for the breezers though. I'll see what's off
Heather
from
is
them.
she is Minnesota Hockey Mom Reads on Instagram. She's one of
Okay.
our podcast co-hosts, and she is our hockey authority, because the rest
Very
of us are
nice.
like, go sports. I mean, we're not sports people.
That's not true. I'm
That's not
very
true.
much a sports
Yeah,
people.
like
She's a
yeah.
baseball person. If we're talking
And I'm
baseball,
like football, but yeah, the only thing I know about hockey is like get the puck in the like net. Like, yeah,
there's some
sorry.
ice, there's skates, there's a
There's
stick
ice.
and a net. What else do I need?
That's it.
One of the things that I thought was interesting is we're talking about authentic hockey. These are not super tall actors, but in romance, everyone's described as like 6'3" and really big guys. But in essence, I don't think hockey players are actually giants, are they? Like, how tall
There's
are
a
you, Bill?
there's a mix. I'm 6'1". I would say I'm sort of like the average for
Okay.
what after like college and beyond that. But it is, and they do a good job. I think Scott Hunter, that the guy who played Scott Hunter, he was fairly tall, but there's a lot of really talented players. And funnily enough, from what I've seen in the last couple of years, actually defensemen. Like there's some incredibly skilled defensemen. There's one, I think his name is Lane Hudson on Montreal, not the Voyagers or the Metros, but the Canadians, the actual, who's really like they're 5'10". Adam Fox, he's on the Rangers, he's probably 5'10", 5'11". So it's not the way that the game's played now is not so much, there's not tons of fights like there was in the 80s and 90s. It's really about skill and speed.
I think a big part of that too is like the contract aspect. Like they're paid so much more now that they are definitely much more of an asset that needs to be protected. And I think like baseball and baseball's evolved with that a little bit, but I definitely think like hockey and other sports you see that as well.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm being roasted in the comments, just so we're all really clear about my lack of sports knowledge and that it's only me. The rest of the podcast hosts know all the things sports. I'm the only one who doesn't. So,
But you know all the things about books that we don't. Like,
my special interest.
Yeah.
all have our area of expertise, all right?
All right. Okay, so as we're talking about the league and different players, let's talk about real life hockey league. Previous to this series coming out, we really kind of hockey didn't have a great reputation for being embracing, and a lot of this does have to do with like your Russian players that are playing here in the National League, like wearing a pride jersey can have effects on their families back in their home countries and stuff. And so, the NHL had said no pride jerseys. They don't really want you celebrating like pride nights and stuff like that. And now all of a sudden, there are heated rivalry nights at almost every team. Can this show help the NHL with its current issues? Do we think this? Jenni, you have an opinion?
I mean, I don't know. It's like a lot of things. It's gotta like start at the top, and I don't know if they're willing to make that change.
Yeah.
I think the good news is that in this day and age, culture can have a lot bigger effect than it used to historically. And so if something is very relevant and it feels like this is a movement and something that the people and fans are behind, I think that's step one. But as far as progress, like realistically, this is like moving, like a ship when you talk about a league. And you're not just gonna, spin the wheel and all of a sudden you're going the other direction. But there's, 2 steps forwards. There's going to be a step backwards, right? There's going to be something that happens next year or 6 months or in a couple of years. But it does feel like getting it out in the open and getting it to a place where there's honestly pressure. That's kind of the only way things move forward is if people feel the pressure at the top.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, doing it.
Well, and the comments in YouTube are basically the NHL needs new leadership. The players can be excited, but management has to be the one to help make these decisions. And lots of
And
people are
that's, I
agreeing with
mean,
you.
that's kind of something we'll probably see in season 2 play out, like in
Yeah.
the show.
Well, because you do get it in the books. You do get
Yes.
some of the league backlash,
Yeah, it
particularly
gets,
like
I mean,
Scott and Kip.
yeah, the second book, for Shane and Ilya, Long Game, like, is very involved with like their coaches, the commissioner.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think it's bringing attention to it, but I have no opinion on the manager. I don't know
Yeah.
anything about the NHL.
Okay, so
Like,
why does this so next question. Why does this book and this movie or this show, why is this jumping lanes? Why do we see so many non-romance readers picking it up? Like, I think one of the first videos I came across was Darcy Michael. He's a comedian. It's him and his husband, Jer, over on TikTok. He and Jer sat down and watched episode 1, and he was like, he did a TikTok and he's like, I blushed through this whole thing. My mother read these books. How can my mother read these books? Like, he was dying. And then he started reading the books, and he's read the complete series now. So what is it about Heated Rivalry that has this, people who would not be in the romance lane? You know, that this is not male hockey romance, any of it is not on their radar. What is it about this that has people jumping over? Because, I mean, we see it every day on TikTok, people, or on socials or Facebook, people talking about, you know, I wasn't a romance reader, but now I can't stop.
Well, I mean, a lot of the romance people are exposed to are traditionally published romances that, like, typically have minimal spice, like very specific kind of storytelling, and it's just starting to change. Like, indie romance is just starting to get like picked up and moved over more to, like, I guess, the trad distribution umbrella. And I think that is making it so that people see different types of romance. I think a lot of people just don't know that, like, they have a, like, I've had people tell me like they don't read like male romance because they just assume it's not good. And I'm like, it is good. Like, they're in the indie romances are so good. Like, they all come, like, not all, but like a lot of them come from like indie romance where there's a huge market for those kinds of books. And I think, like, just because like indie romance hasn't like crossed over into the trad audience, like, I think this is going to potentially have a bigger impact for like indie authors too, where like they're going to be looking, people are going to be looking for more similar books. And I
Yeah.
think they're so like, it just blows the door wide open for the kind of content that is now available to people that they wouldn't have considered otherwise.
Well, and there's much more male sports in the indie space than there is in the trad space. And we're already hearing rumors coming out of trad publishing that they're pulling back on their diversity, on what they're picking up. You know, because of the day job of an acquisitions editor, you know, I have had meetings all week with different publishing editors, and they're telling us, yeah, because one of the questions I asked someone just today, I said, hey, you know, do you want books like Heated Rivalry? I have an author that writes amazing MMF, you know, that would be very marketable. And they're like, well, if it's really amazing, we'd love to read it, but, you know, we're not necessarily pushing that right now. And it's like, message received. That was nice speak for, they just don't know that they can sell it right now. So.
Right. And from like a librarian standpoint, it makes it harder for collection development, which makes indies easier because like they're not going to hide it behind something else.
No. Let's talk about rivals to lovers, because this is a trope that can easily go sideways and wonky. You know, if they're all of a sudden no longer rivals and just lovey-dovey, which is sometimes what we get in this trope, it doesn't work. But I mean, up and until they went to the cabin, they were pretty much not in love, not friends. And I'm not sure they're friends at the end of episode 6.
I think that is I liked that. I thought that that was very realistic because, like, how my husband interacts with his friends is dramatically different than how I interact with friends. And, like, that kind of, like, giving each other crap type banter is very much like a male relationship
Mhm.
component. And, like, I read it as flirting between them a lot. And it's much more present. Like, I find the banter on that is like a lot more present in the book because you get like their thought process. I do think that is something where like a little bit of it was lost in the show, but not really. But like you get like Shane's thoughts at one point when like Ilya's going for 50 he's like, I'm gonna score 50 goals in my rookie season, and Shane's like, well, I am too, but I'm not gonna tell everyone about it because that's arrogant and you sound like a jerk. Like, you get like a little more of their internal thoughts about each other, where you can see like there's a chippiness to their interactions, and it's there in the show too, but like you definitely get a lot more of like the internal thoughts with that. And then like when Shane wins rookie of the year, you get like Ilya's I guess like I felt like that was something too, like the show. I have no complaints about the show, but like in the book, you got like a little more of the motion and feels and backstory for
Yeah.
those and like the internal thoughts and experience they're having that kind of like dig into the rivalry. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Bill, what are your thoughts on the trope of rivals to lovers? Because the Sentinel and the Swan, or the Swan and the Sentinel, which is your debut novel coming out this summer, based on the blurb I read, they're not friends either.
No, I mean, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, and what ultimately drew me to the genre is kind of, I'm the rookie here amongst all these veterans, you guys, but knowing that there's got to be, I would say, sort of in a scientific way, this change of value. You know that you're going to end up with this happily ever after. So having there be whatever you can do to amp up that initial conflict. I mean, the fact that I think the reality is it was like when I first heard it was Boston, Montreal, I'm thinking like these are, I believe they're pretty sure they're both original six teams, right? So like the NHL, when it was conceived, it was only six teams. And to this day, that's a huge rivalry. Canada, Russia. I know Rachel had said, I think she even puts it in the back of her book that NHL 24/7, that HBO documentary series was kind of a big impetus for her to write this. And so it I mean, I love, like, I'm all for it. I think and I think they did a great job of making sure that every part of their character, from where they played to their backgrounds, it was situated such that they were so different. And I think that ends up allowing you to have like the most catharsis when you end up with that HEA,
Yeah,
as the saying goes.
I don't disagree. I do not disagree. Okay. Okay, I just have to say it because, it's 9:45 and I have to say this. Listen, I have a complaint about this show. Now, I do have other thoughts about male romances and the female gays and the women that read it, that only read it if it's written by a woman. Like, I have issues with that, and the fandoms can be a little wacky. I'm not talking about that tonight. What I am going to talk about is one of my other problems, and that is the lack of lube in this show. You guys, like,
Especially because they talk about it all the time in the book. All the time.
yes, there's so much
That's what
lube
I
in the
said.
book. Like, I was like, yes, we're going in with really good butt prep. Way to go. We're going to get some lube. Not one bottle of lube in the entire. I saw condoms.
How mad were you with the like hand spit
We're not talking about it, Jenny.
after
I'm
the tuna
scarred.
melts?
I'm scarred. Use
Bill, I
lube,
don't know
people.
if you're aware, but this is a long time complaint of Becky's. We
People-
actually had a coloring page that was a peach, and it had a logo that said "Use lube."
Yeah. Use lube. Lube.
By the way, I think
So this is not a new complaint.
it's fair criticism, because I mean, I would imagine that would do nothing but help the visual, right? I mean,
Right?
I can see, yeah.
I mean, come
Maybe
on.
season 2, yeah.
Okay, well, I am going to write Jacob Tierney a very tersely worded letter that there better be at least one stinking bottle of lube in season 2. You guys, like, in my head, all I'm thinking is, this is when a vat of lube, because that's the other thing I tell these people. If I ever win the lottery, somebody in my life is
Not
going to
me.
get a vat of lube, because you can buy it off Amazon for like $1,300. Like a barrel of lube, like 1,000 gallons. Anyway,
And
somebody
now is when Bill is like,
Bill's
how
like,
did I
out?
get here?
not sure what's going on with these people. Heather agrees. She was bummed also by the lack of lube. And then this will be a Heather point, the lack of showering after.
Yeah, I mean, they like Ilya showers once.
There's a lot of sex for not a lot of showering.
Yeah, we just don't see them in the shower very often because, like in the books, you get see a little more of this. And this was what I was gonna bring up, like Shane being autistic, like you see his like aversion to things being dirty or out of place.
Yeah. Oh, do you feel like he is autistic coded?
Oh yes, I mean they talk about it. Rachel's talked about it. Hudson Williams, who plays Shane, has talked about it. And I think he did an excellent job at like showing a high functioning autistic. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
his hyper focus is hockey, and yeah, he struggles in social situations. Kind of like, I mean, he talks to Rose, and then like, you know, she figures out like, hey, we're not working. This can't be fixed, and like says, hey, let's be friends. I don't think you have anybody to like talk to about stuff and things. And he says, like, I struggle with stuff and things.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize I hadn't seen that part of it. Okay. We are at 9:50.
So I just want to say,
I was gonna
like,
say.
that was one of the takeaways I had for the characters, was that Ilya's big roadblock was English, and like there's so many points where he's just like, his struggle is like, how do I communicate anything in English? Like that's a big thing he has to overcome. Whereas like Shane, it's very much the emotional piece.
Yeah.
He's very much on the emotional journey.
Yeah. Does anybody have a favorite scene or a favorite moment from the show they want to talk about?
I really like the scene that Jacob stuck in with Shane and his mom. And I also heard a lot of people like say that was like very healing for them to see like that parent child dynamic like get resolved very quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say it was my favorite, but I think it was, as far as serving the story. And I forget which book, but they basically took the Hunter Kip story, and that was not in Heated Rivalry. I think that was its own.
That's in Game
book, right?
Changer, book
Game
one.
Changer.
Yeah.
But I feel like I actually liked how that was done in the book, where it just kind of hits you out of nowhere. But I don't think that would have worked as well in the series if they hadn't provided that backstory to show his struggle and how that gives hope to Shane and Ilya.
Yeah.
And so it also kind of it allows the viewer to realize, okay, this is not just about like some isolated thing that's like only like this is prevalent, right? This is among us. This is we're all people, and you know, you don't know how everyone is navigating their own journeys. So I think that was a smart sort of way to integrate it.
Yeah, I really liked episode 3, but I really like Scott and Kip's book. That was the first Rachel read I had read, so I enjoyed that story a lot. So,
and it's a much different feel, right? Like
right.
it's more of the
because
like,
it's not the two players, it's
yeah.
And they have that instant connection, and they're both like, the awkward flirting in the book is way more than it was on the show. Like in the book, the amount of awkward flirting, I'm like, yes, this is how normal people don't flirt. This is not a guide. Lindsay, do you have a favorite scene?
Yeah, the scene where they win the Stanley Cup and he has Kip come down to the ice and then they kiss and then Ilya's like, okay, I'm coming to the cottage. That was just so good. Like after because like the fourth episode, like it leaves you in such limbo with them. And then like for the fifth episode, for it to kind of like just catapult you right into like them.
Yeah.
Like it just
And
makes you feel like they're gonna work it out like that.
I think that's where like it really played to the like readers versus watchers again, because like the readers knew what was going to happen, right? Like I was afraid to watch episode 4 because I knew I was going to be heartbroken for like a whole week before episode 5 came out. But then like there's all these people that don't know like what's going to happen in episode 5 with Scott and Kip. Like
Yeah.
they and yeah, just to see people's reactions to that was kind of amazing.
I do think one of the things that I'm most proud of is romance readers have been very embracing to the new people to the fandom because of the show. Like overall, I've seen lots of like on threads or I've seen posts on Facebook like if I really loved Heated Rivalry, what books should I be reading next? Like I really like that romance readers are being embraced because sometimes we can be bitches. So it's nice to see that
the
there's
hockey community has been doing that as well. Like there are like different people like giving pointers on like the basics of hockey and
right.
Yeah. It's interesting.
It's nice.
I do think
Intersection.
like Heated Rivalry for me succeeded at something that is kind of a pain point for a lot of romance readers. Like there's cheating all throughout the book, but they're not in a real relationship until kind of like at the end, like the happily ever after is them deciding to be in a relationship. That's very different from what romance readers typically want. Like the HEA is usually something a little more solid than them being in a relationship. And I think this is the only kind of story I've seen or read that is like this, where it's very much a fling, but like with traditional romances and I say traditional, but like the typical
The
fling
MF,
romance.
yeah.
It's like a fling aspect, and then it very quickly develops into a relationship, and like there's drama around it, and
Yeah.
they figure it out. But like here, they're very much like it takes place over such a long period of time, and like the points of time where you see them on the page together, like there's so much life that happens outside of that. And like the way she alludes to that and like tells you what's going on between them, like she just wove that time into the story in a way that really just has you rooting for them from pretty much the beginning. I think you empathize with their situation so well, and there's just so much more to it. But like the fling trope doesn't always work very well, and they just really excelled
I
at
think one of the
that
things that
here.
plays to the favor for this book in particular was it was over a long course of time. This is why there is another book in the series that is their story, because this definitely felt when reading the book that it ends on an HFN. They're happy for now because especially as you read their next story, you realize that it's going to be really rocky before we get to the HEA. But I think
But
one
it also
I
makes
just keep
a really
imagining
good
Ilya like
TV. Yeah.
when Shane's mom was like,
oh
"Oh, so since you're like rookie season, you guys have been in love?" And they're both like, "No, no." And just like, so
Yeah. And then she's like, oh, okay. And Shane's like, I want to die. Like, this is not a
yeah, because
I
then
want to have.
his dad also probably being on the spectrum is like, "What? Lovers."
Jenni, just so you know, based on the hand gesture you made, at first I thought you were referring to something else
In the shower?
in the shower that guys do. And I was like, Jenni, you
No,
can
it was
say
just-
the words. Like,
I can't say the words.
But you know what, Lindsay, it's funny you say that because I actually, when I now think about those other flings, in this story, I feel like they were actually almost painful for them, because you could tell that like there was that love at the beginning, but like that you knew, obviously we knew they're going to end up together, but it was almost like them putting a Band-Aid on something that ultimately it didn't feel like there was anything like they wanted to do the flings, right? Like whereas others, it could be a guy that's like careless and like, okay, I'm going to go do this, and then I feel bad about it. But this was almost, you almost felt worse for them afterwards, because you knew that those characters weren't getting anything out of these flings. Like they didn't really enjoy them. They were doing it to try to perform, and a lot of what I think they did such a good job of is like showing that performative nature of being a hockey player. And there's this saying in hockey that you'd hear in a locker room, and it goes kind of across all sorts of different, like it applies to different parts of the game, but playing the role. And you play the role on the ice, you play the role in the locker room, there's locker room guys, there's goal scorers, but you also play the role off the ice. And so you saw, it was almost a burden, right? Like for them to be, the way Hayden's like, oh, I know, like, it's cool, I know you got a girl here, and like that to them, like you can tell that that's a challenge for them to navigate. Like, hey, this is what's expected of me.
Yeah.
But it also just makes such good television, because there's like conflict and tension, and like it's just so engaging as a result. But yeah,
it is. Okay, so let's do our thumbs up, thumbs down, and then we've got some book recs that if you enjoyed this show, books we think you should check out. Jenni, thumbs up, thumbs down on Heated Rivalry, the TV show and the book?
Thumbs up for both.
Bill, thumbs up, thumbs down for Heated Rivalry. And Lindsey, thumbs up, thumbs down?
Definitely thumbs up.
And I'm a thumbs up for both. I've been a Rachel Reed fan for a very long time. The show, it was very well done, and I liked how it was done. So I will give it that. And nuances be damned. If you liked this book, if you liked this TV series and you've already read the books, here are some other books to check out. The Him series by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. It is good. It is very good. It is hockey. My only caveat on it is Elle Kennedy is not, she's a little lesbian phobic. So take that with a grain of salt. The Kennedy Rule by K.C. Carmichael. Iced Out by C.E. Reese. Gross Misconduct by A.J. Truman. The Puck Boy series by Saxon James and Eden Finley. And we did an episode on that series, didn't we? No, we did the football one. We did the football, but it was good. I do like their writing style. Changing the Game by J.J. Mulder. If you liked the emotions of the TV show, just go read everything by Tal Bauer. But just note that Tal is going to rip your heart out, and you will cry. Like, even if you have a heart of stone, as I do, you will cry. Their books will destroy you. My favorite is Gravity, but there's also the rest of the story, which is also very well done. Top Shelf.
Watching the show?
What?
Did you cry watching the show?
No, because honest, I was multitasking, which now I have to go back and rewatch.
Yeah,
the show.
because now you missed so many little things. Becky.
Listen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but it's a really busy week. And I left it to the very last minute. Oppositional defiance disorder.
I told you.
Top Shelf by E.M. Lindsey, and then Sapphic. I have 3 Sapphic recs. So if you want Sapphic and hockey, Like a Power Play by L. Sprinkle, and then Wake Up, Nat and Darcy, and Yours for the Season. These are heartwarming Sapphic, so they're not going to be as spicy, but they're by Kate Cochran, and I have read her stuff previously, and it's incredibly well done. You don't miss that it's closed door, because there's just really great emotion. So, and if you need more hockey romances, you can follow Heather. And then she said she also will give you PWHL players to follow on IG. So if you need to follow those, that's the women's league, right? professional women's hockey league. She will hook you up with players to follow on social media. Does anybody else have any books they think they should read that are in line with Heated Rivalry that I missed? No.
Nope.
Okay.
I don't ever do my book rec list.
I know. I was like, I just thought about it. I was like, I'm gonna write some down. I did not.
Literally,
do it.
I literally had to like troll Heather's Goodreads. Because some of them, I'm like, well, I've read those, but I haven't read that.
Literally my job to make lists of books.
You're the worst at your job then. Okay, so real quick before we sign off for the night, Bill, your debut comes out June 16th, 2026, The Swan and the Sentinel. It's up for pre-order now. But you're probably not going to be a stranger on the podcast. We have you coming up for some other fun stuff.
I'm very excited.
So Bill will be... He'll be coming back, guys, if we didn't scare him tonight. Lube might have.
I was going to let it go.
I honestly, when this is over, I'm going to go on Amazon because I'm not, that amount, I'd be curious how that gets delivered.
I want to read the reviews. Like, my thought was, I need to read the reviews. Like, I feel like that's a cure for a bad day.
Lube reviews? Like...
Well, meanwhile, my husband already has like a plan for like the whole neighborhood if it gets delivered to our house.
It's going there versus anybody else. I could not do. I think Heather and Amanda have HOAs. Leah literally lives in the middle of nowhere, and Lindsey lives in an apartment. How are we going to get a vat of lube?
Yeah, that's true. And she's like on the 3rd floor, so
yeah, it's a walk up, 3rd floor walk up. Yeah,
Plus, it's like Albuquerque, so it's like hot. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he's going to do like bring your own container, and then we're going to do slip and slide out in the yard.
See, they could slip and slide right into the lake.
Well, we're not that close. Maybe the river.
Anyway, 55-gallon drum of lube. Heather says she could take that. Anyway, Bill, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Hopefully we didn't scare you forever.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
So that's a wrap on this episode. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into Heated Rivalry. You can join our Discord where Jenni is happy to talk about this incessantly if you would like to. So feel free to join our Discord.
Little thing.
She will go episode by episode with you. We'll be back here Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the YouTube. I don't know what we're talking about this week. I don't know. I probably should write a script because I don't think I've done it yet. Anyway, and then next week we're diving into The Flirt by Layla Hagen. This is our community pick for the month. And right now over on Patreon, you can vote for February's community pick. Anyway, thanks everyone for hanging out. Until next time, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at buzzingaboutromance or on Twitter at buzzingromance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.